Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 217 of the Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and anything else that we can think of. I'm your host, Logan, and joining me, as you can tell if you're watching the video version, you're already looking at this handsome man here, and you're like, wait a minute, I recognize him, but like, what's he doing on the show? That's kind of cool. It's a nice thing to see a new face on the podcast, or if you're listening, you have no idea what's going on if you're just listening to this on your phone. Either way, welcome to TRG's new co-host, Micah Hendrick, joining the podcast, man. Say hello to the dear listeners.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate this opportunity. I'm humbled and excited to get going as the new co-host. But yeah, I've been around. You know, I've been on
done a few things. Yeah,
I've done a handful of episodes in the past. I've been on some like, I know the Spider-Man episode, I know for one. I've been on a handful of episodes.
Yeah.
And I've been doing been over on YouTube here lately, doing the Dear Listeners Newsroom, a weekly news recap, which I guess, you know, now is as good a time as any. Well, that will be kind of going on pause since I'm going to be doing this now. I don't know if it's going away completely. I think, you know, when big news hits, maybe if the podcast doesn't work out, especially with it, and big news drops like a Xbox press conference or a Nintendo Direct or something like that, I'll probably hop on and just do an impromptu DLN on YouTube anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I've been around, but yeah, super happy to be here. Want a quick shout out to Adam Sutherland, the old co-host. I wouldn't be here without him, but yeah, thank you for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. In many ways, he's kind of taught you a lot of the things that you know now.
Very, very much. You know, he's the handsome bearded man. I will never lay claim to that. I can't. I can grow maybe a goatee, and that's about it. So he's gonna. You'll never confuse me with the handsome bearded man for sure.
I honestly almost introduced you as this handsome baby-faced man on the other side of the screen here, but I decided against it. But I guess in a way it came out anyway. So yeah. There it is. Well, good stuff. Well, Micah, I'm excited to have you on. I'm sure our dear listeners are excited as well. I've been teasing about this for a while now over on Twitter, and so I'm sure some people are confused. Or like, is TRG getting into a fighting tournament? What's going on? I'm so confused. I think I had a few people being like, did I make it in? And I'm like, did you make it into what? I don't even know what you're referencing now. So we're both confused, I guess, in that essence. In lieu of you joining the show and this being your inaugural first episode as esteemed co-host, I put on Patreon a thread for people to drop any questions for. And I think a lot of people were shy, but there was one person who was not shy to drop some questions there. And this comes from Alex Castellanos, who goes, I'm assuming that we may know who the new co-host is, but assuming I don't, who are you and where did you come from? Also, have you ever made a weekly news recap show for TRG? So there's no getting past Alex there. He's a sharp guy, and I'm an authority on that based on my last name. But Micah, it's a good opportunity as any. Tell us a little bit about yourself in case some of our listeners maybe aren't familiar with DLN, which if you're not, you should be subscribed to the YouTube channel. What's wrong with you? Over 1,000 subscribers over there. New content going up here. Yeah. Definitely over the summer as we get more time. But Micah, maybe share a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Alex sniffed it out for sure. He's a smart guy. My name's Micah Hendrick. I'm 39 years old. I was born, raised, and still reside in Columbus, Georgia. So I'm a good old Southern boy. I have a fantastic wife, Emily. 3 kids, 2 girls, 11 and 8, and my son is 6. They're all awesome, and all the kids especially love to game as well. They love to get on the Switch or get on the PlayStation or whatever and have a crack at it. I work as a sort of a business software analyst, I guess you would call it, at a large payments company named Global Payments, and I guess it's okay to say that. And it's sort of a big sort of corporate job, but they take care of me over there. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the big three, when it comes to video games, like Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. I love kind of that's my purview. I don't do a ton of PC gaming, or when I say that, I don't do any at all. I don't have a PC, a gaming rig. I have a Mac. But yeah, I play primarily on PlayStation, though I play a good bit of Switch as well. And I've got an Xbox One. I got an Xbox One X that I'll
Nice.
play around some Xbox games with. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell, I guess. I've been a Christian since I was 9.
Wow.
I was converted at an early age, and I've known the Lord ever since. And yeah, he's been very good and very gracious to me in my life. So yeah, I'm happy to be here, and yeah, I guess that's me.
Yeah, man. Right on. And dear listeners, you'll get to know even more about Micah a little bit later on. I prepped Micah earlier this week saying, hey, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. I didn't put any in the show notes because I want them to be complete surprises.
Oh goodness.
And so there's some fun ones in there. They they go from like really easy, like, oh yeah, this makes sense, to by the end, we're like, wait, okay, this is really off the rails at this point. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think people will enjoy it. At the very least, most of the dear listeners will have a good kick out of that. But yeah, without further ado, let's. Did I go over all this stuff here? Yes, we took care of all the stuff with the housekeeping as far as DLN and the changes with that. So let's hop into a little bit of what have we been playing. And Micah, looks like we're playing some similar games, but let's kick it off with you, man. What have you been getting into?
Yeah, I'll save the one I've got the most to say about till the end, so I can sort of pass that off because we've been playing that one together.
Okay.
But like most people, I spent a large amount of time with Elden Ring, and
Yes.
trying to wrap my head around it. I didn't get it on release day. I was probably a month or so behind, so I've been playing it for the last month and a half. I haven't beaten it. I've played about 60 hours or so. Yeah. I really, really see what all the praise is about. I get it. What Elden, I think it's going to fall prey, unfortunately, to the same thing or a similar thing that Breath of the Wild did for me, where it's like those sort of games, like I want to do everything, and those games, you're not really meant to do everything in them, and that sort of just flies against my sensibilities as a gamer. So I don't know if I'm going to keep playing. I got to the fire giant, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And that was a hard difficulty spike.
Yeah.
So I hit that and kind of got demoralized. So anyway, Elden Ring, it's awesome. Been playing that. Been playing a little bit of Gran Turismo 7. I know you and John chopped that up on the last episode, so I won't go too much into that. All I'll say briefly is that I think it's probably the most it's the best Gran Turismo for new players in a long time.
Yep. I was actually going to say that I have been, because this is my first Gran Turismo game. I always saw my cousins playing it on their PlayStation growing up, but never played it myself. And now that I'm playing, this is my first one. I'm like, this has eased me in so well that I'm like, I want to play at least 30 minutes to an hour of this every night. It's so much fun. It's just so relaxing.
Mm-hmm. It can also be a difficult game too. I've been sort of swapping between Elden Ring and that for a while, and that was kind of a little torturous. But but the other thing I want to say about that, and I'll move on to my final game, is the DualSense controller. I'm a big believer and just big fan of that controller. I think it's fantastic. All the things they do with the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback and stuff is really fantastic. And Gran Turismo 7 is no different. It's I think because of the way you can feel the tension in the brakes and your accelerator in the car, it really helps you kind of turn those turns just perfectly the way you need to in a Gran Turismo game. And it gives you that sort of extra layer of kind of control and immersion that I don't think was there on a standard controller. When you go back to the standard R2L2 on like an Xbox controller or like an old PS4 or something like that, it just feels like something's kind of lacking there after playing a little bit of GT7. So really great use of the DualSense. And then the final game I'll mention, I've been playing about 12, 13 hours of, is Ghostwire Tokyo. And this game is a lot of fun. I'm liking it, not loving it. I think I told you in a text beforehand, so we were chatting about it a little bit. It's the first, or it's the only first person game I can think of in recent memory where I started playing it and I'm like, oh, whoa, no. Something feels off here with the controls. And I had to play with the settings and like the dead zone of the analog sticks and things like that to get it right. That was weird. I haven't had to do that in a game in quite some time. After I got that sorted out, we're cooking. I'm running it on performance mode on the PS5, and it looks awesome. It plays well. I'm enjoying the combat. The way once you kind of like weaken enemies with your finger attacks, you can sort of pull their core out with these strings with your fingers, and that never gets old to me. I love doing that.
It's very
That's a
satisfying.
lot of fun. It's not. It's kind of billed as a horror game a little bit. I'd say it's spooky. It's not super scary. And what it looks like from the outset is it's got a really nice scoped out open world. And what I mean by that is it's not too big. It's kind of like that. Like a Crackdown or an Infamous kind of size of an open world, not like an Elden Ring or a Breath of the Wild or a Red Dead. So really kind of like a manageable, probably, trophy list. I know, you and I are both into the trophies. So yeah, enjoying that one. I think it's sitting, I think the meta scores are sitting like a 7 or 8. I think that's about right for Ghostwire.
Yeah. It's funny because I knew, like, when I was looking at the list, I'm like, oh man, we're both going to get to talk about this. And man, my experience has been pretty similar. I remember when I booted the game up and it was pretty, it's like you, it felt weird just controlling it and having to mess with the controls, which, I mean, I've done before in other games, but it's weird to go through a period of time where you haven't done that for so long, and then boom, this game hits and then you have to do it again. It's weird, but once you get it right and accustomed to your own specific kind of liking, it does kind of take off. Someone in the Discord, I can't remember who exactly, described this game as like a spooky Naruto game because you're doing the different hand signs to do the attacks, and I had to laugh a little bit because anytime I get spooked out in the game, I'll switch to a different hand stance or something, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just playing Naruto at this point. But I'll say this: the game is definitely spooky. I will agree with that. There's times where, like, and I don't know if this is specifically because of how, like, the Japanese lore draws out or kind of details these ghost characters. They genuinely kind of creep me out to the point where there's times I'm like, I don't know if I can keep playing this for the rest of the night. And that's probably part of my problem is I keep playing it at night. But
how far along are you so far?
I'm about, I think, 5 hours into it. And I just keep getting sidetracked by so many things. It's kind of like, it's funny you brought up Crackdown. And in that game, I remember seeing like the floating orbs and being like, ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. And, going checking those out. And I do the same thing here. If I see a floating car or vending machine or one of the money earns things, I'll go and just smash it. And I just keep getting distracted. So I haven't made a whole lot of progress, it doesn't feel like.
Yeah, I think it took me about 7 or 8 hours before I was like, okay, I get the loop. I get sort of, a couple of side missions, a couple of souls you can just grab out in the wild, maybe go to a main mission after that. But yeah, it's got a good loop to it, definitely good enough to where it doesn't feel repetitive. You're always kind of doing different things and stuff. So, you can kind of mix it up at your own speed, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really solid game. Not a fantastic game, but I'm enjoying my time with it so far.
Yeah. It's a good palate cleanser, especially after spending 2 months playing Elden Ring and then playing Horizon. Jumping to a more smaller scaled kind of open world thing it's a nice switch of a nice change of pace with that I really enjoy. Yeah. I'm also playing Gran Turismo 7, and the only thing I'll really add, apart from what Micah said, is that I found the game's photo mode, and this is literally like Photoshop Lite. And so I'm probably going to spend more time in photo mode than I am going to be driving the cars, because I found that there's this one section of the hub world, I believe it's called Scapes, where you open it up and you select an area and it has like 12 to 15 photos of that area. You can drop your car in and place them, change the lighting, do all sorts of stuff. And I'm just like, this is my wheelhouse right here.
It's fantastic. It's really overwhelming because first of all, there's a ton of scapes. You when you start digging, you're like, wow, there's like hundreds of these, I think.
Yeah.
The photo mode, like you said in the past, is like Photoshop for real, which kind of is overwhelming to me. I'm the photo mode guy here at TRG, and the Gran Turismo photo mode is excellent, but there's a lot there that I have to learn. I'm still kind of trying to wrestle with, but it's got I can back that up. It's got a fantastic photo mode.
It's definitely a lot of fun. This game has surprised me. I really thought when I picked this game up, I wouldn't like it at all, because I don't typically like simulator racers or simulation racers, things that are similar to that.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a Need for Speed, Burnout, Forza Horizon kind of guy, but this game, like I said, the way that it's eased me into the game has just been fantastic. I love it. I love how you can tell the people that made this really love cars, and they give you history about the cars. And I just, it's super cool. I love playing it. It's a lot of fun. And again, just to echo the thing about the DualShock or the DualSense adaptive triggers, man, it's wild at how, like, when you brake, like, you can feel the tension in the brakes and then the tension in the acceleration. It's really, really
like
cool.
If you're going into a sharp turn too fast and you brake hard, you're really braking too much. Your brakes start locking up, and you do that click, 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 click kind of thing, where like they'd be slipping in real life. It's pretty neat. Yeah,
it's very, very cool. Very, very cool. We'll probably need to get John Harrison back on here to talk about that game specifically at some point over the summer, because I'm confident that I'm pretty confident at this point that the more I play this game, the more I'm just going to love it, because it's so good. The last thing I'll kind of mention, again, I'm saving a lot of this for the episode I'm going to do with my wife. I did get the platinum in Horizon Forbidden West.
Cool.
Managed to get past the hunting grounds and the terror. What is it? A tremor tusk.
Yeah.
When I knocked it down, its head didn't go in through the ground like it was doing a couple weeks ago, and so I managed to clear that out. I don't know what it is about this game, man. This game has thrown so many bugs at me, and I don't
hearing
get it.
you describe it, man, I'm shocked. Well, let me back up. This game had more bugs than Horizon Zero Dawn, for sure. But I'm surprised at how many instances you hit that seemed like it was really a problem. I hit maybe one or two that were kind of like just a slight bother, but that was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I had the experience you had, I would have felt similarly too.
Yeah. So I will say that my opinion on it has. I'm kind of glad that I've waited so long that I put off recording this episode with my wife for so long, just because my opinion has changed on it to where I'm not quite as harsh or critical of it at this point. But yeah, I'll get into that. Cool. In a later episode. I'm just glad I got the platinum, because I'm just like, finally,
Yeah. It's a really easy plat. It's a plat that is kind of weird, because you get it, and there's still there's a lot you can still do in the game. I think I got the plat at 79% completion on the overall percent completion, which is kind of just felt weird. But anyway.
Yeah. It's kind of like Undertale. Undertale has a similar setup with its trophy list, where you can get the platinum before even beating the game, and it's like, wait a minute. So
okay.
But yeah. So anyway, well, that's all for what we've been playing. Before we get into the topic of the show, a quick reminder to leave a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment down below about maybe some games that you're playing, or your thoughts on the topic that we're going to get into right now, which is PlayStation Plus. One of the things that has been kind of circulating for really since even longer than March when they announced it, is the rumor that this PlayStation Plus is going to change. It's going to incorporate aspects of PlayStation Now, and we finally got more details as to what exactly the lineup of games is going to look like in the different tiers. And so kind of what I want to do on this episode is spend some time going through the latest post on PlayStation Blog. I'm not going to read the whole thing, because I'm assuming everybody listening to this can read, and go check out the link in your show notes and read it for yourself. But I do want to highlight a couple of things in here to kind of help maybe clarify how the different tiers are broken up, what you get with each one, and then maybe let you kind of decide for yourself if it's something you want to upgrade to. So dear listeners, again, this link will be in your show notes for this article here on PlayStation Blog. If you want to go check it out, it will be in there. But so they've given you 3 different tiers, and Micah, feel free to correct me at any point here, because again, I mentioned in the pre-show, I feel like I'm going to sound like a bumbling idiot going through these. So that's what part of the reasons why you're here. But the 3 tiers you're going to have are Essential, Extra, and Premium. Your Essential is basically the basic PlayStation Plus experience you're accustomed to currently. Your cloud saves, your free games each month, your online play, those sorts of things. That's not going to change if you have that. Now, when you go up to the next tier, which is your Extra, that gives you access to selection of games on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. And they've actually detailed a list of games that you will get with this second tier, which is an impressive list from the first party studios, especially if you are a brand new PlayStation Plus player. Maybe you just got a PS5 and you're looking at some games to try out. Here's I'm going to read the full list of the first party games just so you have an idea. You get Alienation, Bloodborne, Concrete Genie, Days Gone, Dead Nation Apocalypse Edition, Death Stranding, and Death Stranding Director's Cut. So you get the extra stuff with it. Demon Souls Destruction All-Stars, Everybody's Golf, Ghost of Tsushima's Director's Cut, God of War, Gravity Rush 2, Gravity Rush Remastered. I want to highlight this too. God of War is the reboot or the soft reboot. It's not the very first game in the series. Horizon Zero Dawn, Infamous First Light, Infamous Second Son, Knack, Game of the Year, Little Big Planet 3, Loco Roco Remastered, Loco Roco 2 Remastered, both Marvel Spider-Man games, Spider-Man and Miles Morales, Matterfall, Medieval, Patapon Remastered, Patapon 2 Remastered, Resogun, Returnal, Shadow of the Colossus, Tearaway Unfolded, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us Remastered, The Last of Us Left Behind, Until Dawn, Uncharted the Nathan Drake Collection, Uncharted 4 Thief's End, Uncharted the Lost Legacy, and Wipeout Omega Collection. That's just at the second tier. All those games. If you've never played those, I found out today, with one of my students, we're watching Uncharted in class, and I've already watched it 5 times this week, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I know this movie so well. But I asked one of my students, like, hey, you have a PS5, right? You've played Uncharted. And he's like, I've never played it before. I'm like, what? So for him, this would be perfect, getting to play all the games in there, with the exception of the one that was on, was it PSP or PS Vita? And there's some third-party games in there. I'll highlight a few. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Batman Arkham Knight, Celeste, Control Ultimate Edition, Hollow Knight, Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm skipping several games, so you have to go see the full list on the website. Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, there's a good helping of games there.
Resident Evil, the original one, I guess, the remake.
Is that what that is?
I think so. It's the PS4 version of Resident Evil. It looks like.
Okay, yeah, that must be the remake then, if it's PS4, which is still an excellent game. I'm due for another playthrough of that this year.
So that list that you just read out, that list of first party, those were just the first party games, and then you just list off a handful of the third party games. That is what will be in the middle tier. They're called extra. Right. This is what I would think would be kind of the more direct comparison to Game Pass, because I think this will be $15 a month, I want to say, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
And like you said, if especially if you've not been in the PlayStation ecosystem, you've got a buffet sitting here of fantastic, not just great games. Like some of these are seminal games, such as Red Dead Redemption 2, The Last of Us Remastered. You've got Demon Souls, the Blue Point remake that came out for PS5, Bloodborne. Just some really, really standout games. And that's just in the first party. So, we'll get to the other tiers in just a little bit. But when I see this first tier, I'm like, dang, that's the one to sign up for. If I didn't like the top tier, I'd say, let me just settle into this middle tier, especially if I haven't been in the PlayStation ecosystem in a while. If you have been, you may be a huge PlayStation fan and say like, well, I've played all these guys. There's nothing really here for me. Well, maybe so. But maybe this isn't for you, but there's they put a lot of bangers here, and two, the other thing I want to point out here, this isn't even all the games. This might be all the first party games, but they promise hundreds of games, and this is like 60 or 70 games I think they listed here on the website. So yeah,
it's nuts. Like I said, if this was like, if you just got your PS5 and you're looking for games to play at $15 a month, which I did pull it up over here. Let me go through the prices real quick, and then I'll double back to what I was going to say here. The PlayStation Plus Essential plan, the base plan is $9.99 a month, $60 a year. We're used to that. The extra tier is $15 a month, $100 for a year. If you want to, it depends on how you want to play or pay for that. And then the premium plan is at $18 a month, $120 a year. You can decide how you want to pay that out. I'm just trying to make sure. Sorry, I saw an annotation here on the PlayStation blog. So for $15 a month, and you get all those, you get a lot of really good just PlayStation in-house exclusives to start you off with. Man, it's really like you're set for a while with all those games. I would definitely encourage people to play Death Stranding Director's Cut, because I did a YouTube video on it, so you guys can watch that. But that's an impressive list.
Yeah, and I guess real quick, because it is actually part of the extra plan as well, is that I think we already knew that Ubisoft Plus was a thing that existed, and it was already going to be coming to Xbox, I think. Now they've announced what they're calling Ubisoft Plus Classics, which is a curated list of Ubisoft games. I believe is about 27 games at launch, which are
Okay.
also going to be part of the extra and the premium tier. And that in the classics, Ubisoft Plus Classics, there's games like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is the latest Assassin's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Games like For Honor, several of the Far Cry games, the South Park games, Steep, a couple of random ones like The Division 1, for example, and not The Division 2 or Watch Dogs 1. They do have games like Valiant Hearts and Child of Light, which are two awesome games on that list as well. So that's another kind of bonus, kind of like a just chunk of games that'll be added to the extra and premium tiers as well.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I was going to have you bring that up, and I'm glad you did because I didn't even I missed this at some point, and so
yeah. And actually, I ought to say, because I'm the news hound, I've been seeing rumors that Ubisoft Plus Classics, I want to get the name right, is actually going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass as well. They'll probably be announced at the Xbox conference. That's the rumor, at least right now.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. So it's not like this is a one-up that PlayStation got. I don't think, at least, I guess it's yet to be seen.
Right.
But regardless, it's just added value. You get another list of a great, kind of 25 or so games here on top of the other ones.
Yeah, especially if you haven't played the Far Cry games. I mean, you get 3 and 4. I mean, you get Blood Dragon with that too, which is just a really bonkers DLC thing that they added on there. I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. Starlink Battle for Atlas is great. I mean, for anyone that's listening that has a PlayStation, or even if you have an Xbox, you get Ubisoft Plus. Starlink Battle for Atlas is a really good game to play with your kids. Kind of like a space type of exploration sort of game. I think on the Switch you could have actual Star Fox was incorporated into the game. Okay, it came with like the little ships that you could like scan into your controller, and then you could get the parts and all that jazz. I think on the digital version it has them all in the game, and you just unlock them through the game system. But there's some cool games in there, some really cool games in there. But I want to move on to detailing the deluxe plan here, kind of the third tier of the plan here. Something that it adds in with this, you get all the previous perks from the previous tiers, but you also get access to the classic games catalog. That I want to read something here that I'm noticing some folks are either glossing over or maybe kind of read it in passing. I want to kind of talk about this a little bit here. That it says deluxe members will have a selection of popular classic games to play with, some titles that will show improved frame rates and higher quality resolution compared to their original launch versions. For select original PlayStation and PS Plus classic games, members will also enjoy a new user interface with menus that allow you to save your game at any time, or even rewind the game if you want to do over. So similar to what Nintendo's doing with their classic collection with their Nintendo Online thing with Super Nintendo, NES, N64. Also, and this is the part that really caught my eye, players who have previously purchased the digital version of select games from the original PlayStation and PSP generation will not have to make a separate purchase or sign up to PlayStation Plus to play these titles on PS4 or PS5. When these titles are released for PS4 or PS5, players can head to the store, download the version for their consoles at no extra cost if they already own the digital version of the title. Now, some of the titles will also be available for individual purchase, which the moment that I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. On PS3 and on my PS Vita, I had the original Metal Gear Solid on there. If they bring that to PS4 and PS5, which I love that you like literally we're just hinting at Metal Gear Solid so much on the show here between what I posted on Twitter, your shirt. I was super excited to read that just because I had bought so many PlayStation 1 games and PSP games on my Vita that just hearing at this, it kind of hints that maybe I'll be able to play some of those again on the systems. Let me kind of highlight some of the games here that you're going to get with this plan if you play it. Now, these games are the original PlayStation and PS Plus. It's kind of hard to say with all these different PlayStation things. These are the original version of the games: Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf, Siphon. Is it Siphon or Siphon? Siphon Filter. I'm leaving out several games here. You guys can go read this for yourself. Tekken 2, pretty popular fighting game. Worms, the little kind of strategy type games. And then these are the remasters that you're going to get. And some of these you probably already have on your PlayStation because they were released as PS2 classics. But Ape Escape 2, Arc the Lad, Dark Cloud 1 and 2, Fantavision, Hot Shots Tennis, Jack 2 and 3, Jack X Combat Racing, Jack and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy, Rogue Galaxy, Siren, and Wild Arms 3. And then third-party games is BioShock Remastered, Borderlands, Handsome Collection, Bulletstorm, Kingdoms of Amalur, Re-Reckoning, Lego Harry Potter Collection, and then some PS3 games. Again, I'm not going to read through all these just because of time, but I will highlight several things here. You get the PS3 version of Demon Souls, Hot Shots Golf, Out of Bounds, and World Invitational, Eco, Infamous 1, 2, and Festival of Blood, Motor Storm Apocalypse, and RC, Ratchet and Clank, the various spin-off games, Resistance 3, which is surprising. And he's where's the new Resistance, guys? Come on. Games from third party, Azura's Wrath, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. Interesting pick on that one. Devil May Cry HD Collection, Enslaved Fear, Lost Planet 2, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, if you really want to rage quit and break one of your controllers, and Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. And then with this tier also comes with time-limited game trials. That the titles that they have listed here that will be available is Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, Horizon Forbidden West, Cyberpunk 2077, Farming Simulator 22, which my students tell me is a really dope game.
Let's go.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and WWE 2K 2022. I don't know, man. I think I'm just reading from this. Let me get your thoughts, Michael. What do you think about this tier being the most expensive?
Yeah, this is where it falls apart big time for me.
Okay.
And to circle back to your point about players who have previously purchased the digital version of select games from the original PlayStation and PSP generation will not have to make a separate purchase. If you look closely at this list of games, it's all the same games that they had on the PlayStation Store for like the PS3, like the PlayStation Classics or the PS2 Classics and all that stuff. Ape Escape, Hot Shots Golf, Dark Cloud, Fantavision, Jack 2, all this kind of stuff. It's the exact same ones, which is where this list, in my opinion, is kind of lacking. It's like, where's the Metal Gear Solid? Where's the SSX for PS2? Why are we getting Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2 and not the first one? Why are we getting Resistance 3 and where's Resistance 1 and 2? Things like that. This list has massive, massive holes in it when you consider the legacy and the library of PlayStation. Like, there's no Twisted Metal here. There's no original God of Wars. There's no Final Fantasy. So I'm sure some of that stuff might be here in other avenues already, like Final Fantasy 7 or whatever, for example. But I'm seeing holes all over the place here, and just kind of like random picks for games. So this is where, I'm really unsure. I want to caution because this isn't the complete list, but you would think Sony would be putting their best foot forward in this blog post. You would think, but seeing all those same old PlayStation classics, Ape Escape 2, Arc the Lad, all that stuff, is just like, okay, come on, you've got to do better than that, right? Like, they have what is it? 1, 2, 3. There's 6 first-party PlayStation Studios PlayStation 1 games on here. Like, that's not enough, guys. That's not nearly enough.
And something I want to point out, too, because I'm sure some people are curious. The PS3 games, some of the ones that I've listed off, and really all of them, are still streaming. You won't be able to download these to your system. So that's even more of a bummer to me, and it just really makes me wonder, like, man, like, because I think friend of the show and listener of the show, David Matthews, kind of broke down what they did with the PS3 system that makes it so different from PS4 and PS5. But man, it kind of baffles me and blows my mind a little bit that the PS3, the way that they set up that architecture, is still holding them back to this degree to where they almost, it just kind of seems like they're pulling their punches a little bit with this tier.
The way I heard it described is that it's kind of like, you have to have an emulator, to emulate games and stuff like that. I think we all understand that and know that for backwards compatibility purposes. I think the way that the cell was constructed is that each and every game was different in how it kind of tackled the deficiencies that were there and the way that it had to program their games for the cell. And each game came up with different solutions. And so it's almost like each and every individual PS3 game, you need its own emulator just for that game. And that's kind of why it's taking so long. At least that's how I understand it, if I'm explaining this
Yeah,
correctly.
and that's kind of what David was explaining to me as well over on Twitter. And I think even listening to a fairly recent episode of Sacred Symbols, they were talking about that over there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So
it's a complex mess over there. It's disappointing that they haven't come up with some sort of downloadable solution for PlayStation 3 games. Um, that's kind of where you could argue that's where Sony, like the modern Sony as we know it now, where it kind of broke out and became what it is today with the Uncharted series and the Infamous series and a few others. And there's some great games kind of stranded, quote unquote, on the PS3 because it's locked behind this terrible cloud streaming. Well, let's say terrible. Hopefully, maybe they'll improve it as we go along, but give them the benefit of the doubt. But not a great track record there. Not a good look to see PS3 games streamable only. This top tier has big question marks all over it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just everything from the library of really just PlayStation games. I think that's where a lot of people are looking. PS1, PS2 games. But then the streaming stuff on PS3, that's a huge blow as well. So they gotta get that library up. And they got to find a solution for the PlayStation 3 games. I don't want to be all poo poo, as a whole. If I'm like zooming out, it's a solid offering. It's a solid first stab at it. I don't think Game Pass was coming out swinging. I don't even know if, correct me if I'm wrong, did they have day and date release of like those like new first party games when it came out? I don't think they did.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm not super familiar. So maybe one of the dear listeners can write in or leave a comment on YouTube.
But it's a good start, especially when if you're bummed out about that top tier. There's probably you're already going to be subscribed to the middle tier. Obviously, there's probably something in that middle tier that'll tickle your fancy. But I think overall, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised. I thought Sony was going to really, really botch this, if I'm honest.
Yeah, same here.
Even to see the things like the frame rate boost and the resolution boost in certain games, they won't say, it may be just 5 of the games, who knows?
Right.
Even just something like that, I didn't necessarily expect that.
Yeah.
The one disappointing thing too I'll bring up is it doesn't seem like they're going to integrate trophy support into these old games that didn't have it to begin with.
Oh yeah, they didn't even mention that. I just realized
there's zero mention of trophy support, which is kind of disappointing for me personally.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But well, no, they didn't have it on. I was just thinking like maybe they had it on PS Vita, but no, I remember playing like the old school Resident Evil 2 and 3 games on there, and there was no trophies for the classic games. Yeah, when I first saw this and was looking through it, like you, I was surprised PlayStation didn't find a way to screw this up. But as I was reading through it, I was kind of getting more and more excited with each new tier I went through because I saw the middle tier list of games. I'm like, man, that's a lot of games. That's really cool. And I got to the most expensive tier and saw the classic games. I was like, oh man, all these classic games. That's so cool. $18 a month. I could do that. And then I scrolled back up and read through it again a little more thoroughly and saw the part where you could purchase the classic games as they become available in the store. And I'm like, oh, well, if that's the case, I'd already bought in so many on the PS Vita to begin with that I probably won't go to that tier. I probably won't even go to the middle tier, to be honest with you, just because I've played a lot of those games. I own a lot of those games. And I'm not saying that to like dog on it or anything. I think like I said, I think it's an awesome offering for anyone that's getting the PlayStation for the very first time. I mean, that's killer lineup of first party games to try out. It's really, really good, especially God of War. But I think I'll probably just stay at the base one because I think that's just kind of where I'm at. And then, like you said multiple times, and we do want to make this clear, this is not the exhaustive list. They're going to add to it, and that remains to be seen what it is they're going to be doing to it and what they're going to be adding. But I think as they add more, and if the offerings get too tantalizing, I may upgrade to the middle tier at the very least, and then just re-download kind of my classic games that I've bought. And if those come up, and I'm still hoping, I still am hoping that we see Metal Gear Solid show up and classic Resident Evil games. And
how about this? You go back to that original list of the PS4 and PS5 games that are going to be the first party games. You can see things like Returnal, Miles Morales, Demon Souls, the remake by Blue Point. So, but there's nothing like Ratchet and Clank. Rift Apart, for example. Like we don't see that. Do you
Oh, there's not
think?
even the remake on there.
Do you think that like
Huh.
how long after God of War Ragnarok comes out is it coming to PlayStation Plus? Is it coming to this tier? That kind of thing. Are they going to wait like a year or
I
year
don't
and a
know.
half? How do you think that's going to work? Because I mean, seeing games like excuse me, just at my desk, like Demon Souls on here and Returnal, it's a little surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
do you
That's a
think
good
they'll
question.
wait kind of like a year to kind of put these games out or further?
I don't know. I think honestly, just looking at the games that are on there, it might just depend on how well they do sales wise, and kind of if they're like a remaster or not. Like we keep hearing about this supposed Last of Us remake. Who knows?
Yeah.
When if that's going to come out. I think it's going to primarily be based on sales. Now that I'm looking at this, okay, never mind. I was looking at this list and saw Gravity Rush 2. I'm like, where's the first game? And it's right below it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It really, I think it's going to depend on just how well the games sell, I think. But I know they mentioned that they don't want to put games day and date on there because then they're going to lose out on that revenue. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because then no one's going to go out and purchase it, which has been one of my concerns about Game Pass. You release your games day and date on there. It's like, why would I spend $60 to $70 on the game when I can just play it on Game Pass? And or how are those studios getting reimbursed? Is it like a Spotify method, or what are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the lineup holds up, especially third party wise, as the years go on and contracts potentially expire and stuff. But yeah, I think I could see Sony doing whenever the game goes to PC, for example, like, okay, we'll go ahead and hit PlayStation Plus at the same time.
Yeah,
Something like that.
I could see that. Let me look at this list again, because some of these is Days Gone on there. Days Gone is on. I think most, maybe not most, but several of the games on here are on PC as well. So that's a
but there are several that aren't as well. Like both the Spider-Man, for example, those aren't on PC.
Right. No, I was mainly just referencing kind of like your line of thinking and
you're right though.
Days Gone, Horizon, God of War, they're all on PC.
Mm-hmm.
But and I think didn't Uncharted 4 get ported to PC or is coming to PC?
That brand new collection with 4 and Lost Light. No, it hasn't come to PC yet. I think it's coming soon.
Okay.
I think that's the deal. Yeah,
because I remember them announcing that. I'm like, really, going to put 4, but not the Nathan Drake collection? That's a little weird.
That is weird. They haven't brought the Nathan Drake collection. The original 3, I don't think, is on PC as of yet.
Sony just doing what they do, being weird.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a good kind of first offering, and it's good. This is competition. Game Pass caused this to happen.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think this is a competitor, quote unquote, to Game Pass. This is an answer to Game Pass. Yes, this isn't a competitor to Game Pass per se.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really do that when Microsoft is putting day and date Starfield on Game Pass. That's really tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is what has come out of that competition. That game, and we're kind of here, like the streaming wars, or not the streaming wars, the service wars are kind of starting here. So yeah, it's exciting. I'm expecting, we're recording here in the middle of May. Here in the next few weeks, early June, we should be hearing some more exciting, games listed off here as we get closer to the launch. So yeah.
Yeah. And do you by chance know, sorry, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, and I can look it up if need be. Do you know when this is launching it here in the States? Because I know it's different for...
It's in the original regions. Blog post. Let me pull it up. I've got it right here. Okay. It's tiered. So Asia, Japan gets it before us. It is June 13th for the Americas.
Okay.
June 13th. So yeah. I don't know if Sony's going to have like a big kind of showcase show, like an E3 style show before then.
Yeah.
I would think that they might, but that one year, I guess it was the year that the PS5 came out. They skipped all summer and didn't do something until September or something weird like that. So who knows what they're going to do?
Yeah.
But they've got to. One thing they do have to do is they have to reveal the full list of these PlayStation Plus games before June 13th. We will know that. So that'll be exciting to kind of get that full list.
Yeah. then they only have like a week or so from when we're recording to release it before it launches in the Asia markets.
Yeah, this is true. So
So
we could find more details out very imminently, even by the time, around the time this episode goes live to the public.
yeah. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm like I said before, and I'll just echo it again as we kind of wrap up the topic here. Is I'm pleasantly surprised by what they've managed to put together, and I think what'll cause me to upgrade is just how well they support it in the months after they release it, and just seeing kind of what they do and what all they add and any new features that they add to it as well. Because I think it's a great start. Like I said, I think if you're new to PlayStation, this is, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't go for the middle tier, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Pending that, it's within your budget or whatever, but it's like, that's a really, really good tier, really solid. Don't know how many people are going to go for the third tier, but again, that remains to be seen. Maybe that kind of really surprised people and got people really excited, especially just seeing Siphon Filter on there. That was one I remember playing with my cousins. Like, man, this game's hard. I don't know what I'm doing, but it looks dope. So
yeah, we'll see how some of those old kind of blocky PS1 classic games hold up as we get back to them. Because Siphon Filter is one of those ones. I think I put a clip of it in a recent Dear Listeners Newsroom episode, and it's just they don't look great.
No, no, they don't. I remember playing Metal Gear Solid. This was years ago. I'm sure it's recorded somewhere in the back catalog of episodes for TRG, going back and playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time, the PS1 version. I'm like, man, this looks old, and man, the controls are a little weird, but I don't know. I dug it, and then I bought the remaster on GameCube, so I'll have to play that sometime soon. But yeah, well, Micah, do you have any closing thoughts about this? Anything else to add before we start wrapping up the show?
I know we're going to get into Recos here in a second. I just want, this is my first episode that we're doing this together. And we're about to be entering, E3 season, quote unquote, here coming up here in the summer. Real quick, man, I just want to know, just off the wall question. Give me a game or two that you're super hyped about. What's in the next, before the year's over, maybe, like, what is Logan Sharp hyped about? I need to know, because I want to get hyped with you.
Put me on
or
the
maybe try to rain on this praise if it's a game I don't like.
Rain on the praise. This is really just a setup so you can just harsh on my mellow is what you're doing. You set me up so you can spike me down and be like, I got you. No, the only game I can really think of, I mean, Mario Strikers, of course. I'm excited for that, but a game that I'm even more excited for, and this is a game that I raved about for several episodes here on the podcast when I was playing on the Switch, is I'm super excited for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Was not like, I was ready for that to be my fall game. Like, I'm gonna jump into it, play it, get some pumpkin spice latte going, and get my little burrito blanket, and snuggle up with it. And then they're like, no, it's coming out in July. I'm like, all right, never mind. Yeah. There goes my productivity for planning for the next school year. It's just going to be shot out the window once that game drops. So I'm pretty stoked for that, to be honest. That's kind of my main game I'm focusing on. It's like, yes, give me that.
Yeah, I think short term, real quick, I'll jump in here with one as well. Yeah. Is I don't know which one's going to come out first. Probably whichever one comes out first will definitely get the bulk of my attention. Both of those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games, the Shredder's Revenge and the Cowabunga Collection, they're both kind of in the same vein, and they're both coming out soon. I don't know which is first. That would be a good game to maybe play with some dear listeners or something.
Definitely.
Because you can pop on at least four players on those games. But yeah, those old TMNT arcade games, man, gimme. Those were awesome.
Yep. Because Turtles in Time is going to be in the Cowabunga collection, right?
100%.
Yes. That's nuts. You get one of the best games ever in that collection. That's pretty good. No, man, that's good. I think we've got a lot to look forward to. I was thinking about this the other day, like, just as I was playing Gran Turismo and as I was playing even Horizon a little bit and Elden Ring, I'm like, dude, it is a great time to be a gamer, especially if you're just getting into the hobby. Like, there's so many games to play from the history to current. Like, it's a great time to be a gamer. There's so many good games to play, so many good games to look forward to, and just oh man, it's a good time to get in the hobby. It's a good time to get 100%. In the hobby. So you started this off with asking questions, and that's a great segue into as we wrap up the show. I had these rapid fire questions prepped for you.
Okay, sorry.
And
Go
so I
ahead.
just kind of want to, like I said, they're going to start off a little easy, kind of goofy, a little fun. And then they're going to get like progressively a little more strange and more funny as well. At least I hope they're funny. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, I'm a little nervous, not gonna lie.
You'll be all right.
All right.
So, Micah, here's the first question I want to ask you. If you could choose between these two libraries of games, would you choose the PS2 or the PS4?
PS4.
Okay. And why PS4?
Oh man,
You picked PS4 over
like,
PS2.
I said that really quickly, and a dagger immediately went into my heart when I said it.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, I think there's some really great standouts on PS2. Don't get me wrong. My one of my favorite games of all time, Shadow of the Colossus. I spoke about it a bunch on this very show. Of course, came from PlayStation 2. Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, PlayStation 2. So some great games, but man, the consistency at which the PS4 cranked out games, and the PS4 is part of that modern era where I think we're in kind of that golden era, of games you were just sort of talking about, where you got games like God of War and games like Celeste and games like I don't know. I'm brain farting. I don't play it, but games like Fortnite, which are really successful, and then games like
like
just all over the place. Red Dead Redemption 2. The BioShock remaster. Just things like that's a seminal game. Just play it again, looking better. So if I had one library, I think it would have to be PS4. Although I'm kind of a modern, like I kind of lean towards more modern games, and kind of. I don't play as many retro and older games, but a lot of love for PS2. But I think I'd actually go with PS4.
Fair enough. All right. Well, dear listeners, you sound off in the comments. If you are upset with Micah, leave comments and stuff on the YouTube thing. This is one I threw this in here because this was a bit of a debate on Twitter that I posted. Is it soda or pop?
Definitely not pop.
Thank you. Okay.
It's definitely not pop. I'm from the South. We just call everything Coke.
Oh my gosh, you're one of those people
here, but I can definitely accept soda. I say soda sometimes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to break myself of just saying Coke when I mean Dr. Pepper and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that wouldn't fly at like a restaurant. You can't just, get away with that. But we Southerners, if we're going to the store, we need something drinks for the barbecue. Like, you're gonna get some Cokes? Like, I'm going to get some Mountain Dews and some Coca-Colas and some Dr. Peppers.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever told the story before on the podcast, but I remember one time when I was managing my former church's social media, I had posted a thing on there that was this exact question. And literally every single comment was like, whoever is managing the church's social needs to stop. It's Coke. And that's like all I got. And like several people came up to me and like, so have you changed your ways? Do you know it's Coke now? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are getting heated about this. Dang. I thought this would be an innocent little post and it wouldn't get any traction, but no.
Soda's fine. Soda's fine, but pop, take a hike. Can't do it.
I'm so glad. Okay, we're at least aligned on that. We can lock arms with that.
Yeah, there we go.
So, but yeah. All right. So because you're wearing a Metal Gear shirt, this is perfectly themed.
Okay.
What is the best Metal Gear game?
The best. Okay, I was about to go with my favorite. The best Metal Gear game is 1. No, it's still 1. No,
okay.
1 is my favorite, and it's the best. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The story is the best. The cast of villains, like the main villains that you fight, is probably the best. It did so many. It did so many firsts for the stealth genre and just for Metal Gear in general. So I almost pivoted and went with 3 because 3 is very, very high up there. But gotta go with the OG. Gotta go with 1.
I'll even add which Metal Gear game got a remake on the GameCube.
There you go.
It was the first one.
There you go.
Probably because it's the best one.
Hopefully more remakes in the future.
Oh gosh, that would be so nice. I would love a remake of 3. You have a favorite book?
Oh, favorite book? Gosh. No, not really. I'm not a huge reader, man. Okay. I hate to even say that and admit it. I don't have a favorite book. I tell you what's on my mind right now is my 6-year-old son is just getting into Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh,
And
right on.
my dad has like several of the just like collections that you would see in like a Barnes and Noble or something like that, like
Yeah,
six
yeah,
of
yeah.
them, and he just gave them to all of us the other day, and I was like, oh, sweet.
That's cool.
So I'm gonna be digging in some Calvin and Hobbes here pretty
Yeah.
soon. But favorite book, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't even know if I could pick anything out. I just don't read a lot of fiction. It would be a nonfiction book, like some sort of Christian book or something.
Yeah.
But like fiction, no, I don't. If I've got time for that, I'll go pick up a controller usually.
Fair enough. Yeah, it wasn't. I was the same way for a while. It wasn't until this year I decided I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and start reading more fiction, get into that a little bit, and so yeah, I mean, plus you got to find the right book. I mean, there's so many books out there. It's like, how do you choose which one? And thankfully, I had a small group of people, one of them being my wife, being like, you need to read Stormlight Archive. So, your listeners, I was going to find a way to bring it up in this episode. I'm not going to shut up about that book series. All right, so this is where the questions are going to get a little weird. Okay. These are a lot of would you rathers.
Sure.
So, would you rather use the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller or the N64 controller to play every single video game for the rest of your life?
Oh man, the Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller for sure.
Did you really?
Just so you can stream with that bad boy, you get the best angles, and you're like, man, look at me taking out this Elder Ring boss with the Resident Evil chainsaw controller. Of course, man. That was almost a softball, Logan.
I was not expecting that. I really thought you were going to pick the N64 one.
No, I've got a lot, and man, I'm about to get some hate right now. I've got a lot of hate for that N64 controller and just the N64 in general. Not a big fan of the console. I was dunking on LeBron James. He was saying on Twitter today, he was saying the N64 was better than the GameCube. I said, no. Jordan is better than you, and the GameCube is better than the N64, is what I told him. But I'm sure he listened to me,
I don't normally pick fights on Twitter, with the exception of me doing that soda pop poll thing, but I might go pick a fight with LeBron James. I'm not going to get into that.
I have a big problem with that main analog stick in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, why is it there?
It's weird. It's Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's Nintendo. We'll have to save that for a GameCube episode
and bring on the hate. Bring on the hate. Everyone that's like, oh man, Super Mario 64. Just bring on the hate. I'll embrace it.
Can we all just agree that Super Mario 64, like, it was fine for the time, but nowadays it's not that great. Come on.
Yeah, it was never that great to begin with. I didn't think. But anyway,
we're both gonna get so much hate this episode. It's gonna be awesome.
Like, Logan, kick him off the show.
I can just hear Drew Hood right now. He's getting in a car with Adam, and he's gonna come to both of our houses and beat us up. All right, so moving on to our next. Would you rather? Would you rather have a mullet or a man bun?
It could be argued that I have a mullet right now. Kind of. I need to go to the barber, but it's kind of dark and you can't see. Man, I'd rock either one. I think.
Okay.
I like I said, I'm nearest to the mullet, so I'm gonna go. I'll go mullet. Yeah, and I live in the South, so I can embrace that.
Kind of goes with it. Yeah, fair enough.
Sure.
All right, cool. Would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Vader for the rest of your life?
Breathing like Vader doesn't sound very healthy, so definitely talking like Yoda. You could have some fun with that. You'd have a lot of fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting everything backwards. But yeah, I'll go with talking like Yoda. And Yoda is just a nicer Jedi or a Force user than old Vader.
That's
not
true,
a good dude.
That's true. All right, here's the last one, and I've been waiting to ask you this one. I can't even read it because it's just so goofy. Would you rather be insulted by Gordon Ramsay for 10 seconds or receive unlimited text messages from Donald Trump for 10 days?
Oh man. See, I like these. Are really good. I like these. Very thoughtful. I'm gonna go with the Trump text because I would get a lot of just joy and comedy out of reading those text messages. The way if he texts me like he tweets America, then I'm gonna be like, guys, I'm gonna be tweeting out what he texts me on my Twitter account. I'm gonna get thousands of followers, and yeah, so definitely I want Trump to text me all the time.
Oh man, that's funny. You could even start your own Twitter account, like text from Trump or something like that.
Oh man, he's gonna send some real good ones, and be like, dude, look what I'm gonna tell the internet, like, look what Trump sent me today. Can you believe this?
Oh man, that's fun. Okay, that was the one I wasn't sure which way you were gonna go, because I'm like, both are pretty funny. I don't know, but
Man, yeah, Gordon Ramsay, him yelling, that just doesn't sound fun.
my thing is, I don't know if I'd survive the 10 seconds. I'd probably be crying and have to like get therapy.
I'm a sensitive man. I take things to heart. Words are powerful. Words are hard, and words are powerful.
And they're powerful. Yeah.
And so I don't know if I'd like Mr. Ramsey yelling at me, but I'll text Mr. Trump.
So funny. All right.
So
dear listeners, with that, that's episode 217. Before we let you go, this is the second episode of the month, so as always, this is our patron thank you episodes. I've already told Micah he has the high responsibility of helping me read through some of these names. And so these are the folks who support us over on patreon.com through the month of May. Because of y'all, we get to continue doing what we do here at the show and continue producing content and getting games to talk about on the show and things of that nature. And so we want to thank those people. And Micah, I'm going to let you start us off here.
Yeah, man, I apologize for any name that I butcher, but Alex Castellanos, Boulder, Brandon Buonacorsi, Cassie, Chris Freeman, Christopher Commander, Daryl Tavares, David Henderson, Derek Smith, Jake Walker, Jeff Jackson Jr., Jimmy Changa, Jonathan Harrison, Josh Broccolo, Kiefer Winborn, Clay Brandon, Kokorodaki, Luke Strain, Matt Edwards.
And then rounding us out was Matthew White, Chocolate McDougal, Matthew Millsap, Melvin Benson V, Micah Hendrick, the person I'm talking to right now, Michael Toller, Mr. Butts. I should have gave you Mr. Butts. Nate McKeever, Paige Penson, Retro Rewind Podcast, Ryan 1701E, Sam White, Savone Pena, Third Strongest Mold, Travis, Vincent Yu, Wesley Ray, Xavier Medina, and one of our newest patrons, Yuki Ali. If I mispronounce your names, let me know. But again, y'all, thank you for supporting us over on Patreon and letting us continue what we do here at the show. Before we let you go, some recos. Micah, what's something our dear listeners should check out this week?
Yeah, I am almost positive I brought this to a past Recos section, but I think what I want to do, and I'll probably, by the time like episode 220 rolls around, I'll probably have broken this habit. But what I want to do is for Recos, for a while at least, I'm going to be bringing just a lesser known video game, not a book, not a TV show, not anything, not an actual game that's just lesser known that I think is pretty darn cool that I've come across in my years. And today I'm going to talk about a game called Viking Squad. It is for the PlayStation 4 and you can get it on PC on Steam. It's by a developer named Slick Entertainment, and Viking Squad is a 2D brawler much like Castle Crashers.
Okay.
So if you have an itch for something like Castle Crashers, it really draws, I think, a lot of inspiration from that game. You have like these rows, these lanes that you have to stay in to sort of like if the enemy's on the same lane as you, you can hit them. And that sounds kind of like a pain at first, but then it's kind of nice because you're going to hit the guy. You know how sometimes you can be barely above or barely below the enemy in these types of games and be missing them. So it's kind of nice in that way. But there's a nice cast of characters with, melee and ranged attacks, of course. And it's just a lot of fun bosses. So yeah, it's probably no more than $15. You can probably find it for $5 or $10. But Viking Squad for PS4 and PC.
Fair enough. I'll add that to my wish list. I spent a whole whopping $2 on My Name is Mayo 3, so I'm gonna be playing that instead.
Excellent.
And then I'll get around to that. But that sounds really cool. As far as my reco goes, like I mentioned this earlier in the show, so this is like the last week of school, and some of the things I'm doing in my class, I'm like, look, I can't really teach you guys anything. We're not gonna get through a whole unit. We'll just kind of take it easy this week. We'll do a little bit of review with some of the game stuff that we have, like on Gimkit and Blookit. But we're also going to watch movies because I love movies. And I was like, you know what, are you guys up for watching Uncharted? And they're all like, yeah. I'm like, cool. Well, I'm going to watch it too and not try to tell you everything I know about the video games while we're watching it. And that was a mistake because I think 4 or 5 of my classes picked Uncharted. So I've been watching the same 40 minutes of Uncharted during 5 different class periods every day for the last couple of days. And I'm like, man, I like this movie, but I'm starting to hate it because of how many times
you like
I have
Mark
to watch
Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg is one of my favorite things about that movie. That line where he's like, "I'm literally in a Papa John's right now." I'm like, "Marky Mark, I love you, man." So I'll say this. Part of the reason why I'm recommending it is because I was surprised by the movie. I was like, I went into this movie expecting to hate it, and I'm like, I like this movie. Wow, I'm surprised by that. It's not quite the Uncharted games. I definitely took a lot of things from the different games to smash it into one movie and to get you engaged. But I thought it was really well done for a video game adaptation or a movie adaptation of a video game. It's not perfect, but I wish that the Resident Evil movies would treat the source material as well as Uncharted did, because that hasn't happened at all.
My wife and I are probably going to watch that for the first time. We haven't seen it yet. We'll probably watch it here in the next, 3 or 4 weeks, I would imagine. Because I've heard pretty much the exact same thing from everybody, is that this is better than I thought.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And my kids even enjoy it. I actually had one student ask me, because we managed to finish it with one class today. She was like, okay, so since I've watched the movie, does that mean I can play the game and know what's going to happen? I was like, well, parts of it, yes, but like parts of the different games, but not quite. I was like, if you do play it, just put it on story mode, breeze through it, and you'll be all right. Just don't play the first game because it gets really hard at the end. And she was like, "Oh, I don't care then." I'm like, "All right, fine, miss out on it." but I think some of the people were really surprised by it. Oh, well, if we do an episode on it, I'll save some of the stuff for that. But Uncharted, the movie is my reco. It's surprisingly good. It's probably better than what you might think. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, well, Micah, it's the end of your first episode, man. How do you feel?
I feel good. That was a lot of fun. I think one thing I forgot to mention at the top, with the absence of Dear Listeners Newsroom, we're going to be bringing, I think, Logan and I will sort some of it out, but we're going to be bringing a little bit more news back to the show. I think, kind of like how Adam used to bring some of the news topics. I think we might touch on a topic or two at the top of the show potentially before we get into what we've been playing and the topic of the show. Expect a little bit of that with me around. And another thing just to close on. I think this couldn't have come at a better time as far as where we're at in the year. We're about to get to a really, really fun point in the year with a bunch of kind of E3 like announcements and shows. So we might have an episode on that sometime soon. So a lot to look forward to.
Yep. Or even actually what would be really cool, I was thinking about this earlier today, we could even do like where we talk about, let's say the Xbox Bethesda conference, we react to it, talk about it and all that stuff, and then chop it up to where that's an episode and it's also a YouTube video because of how we do the recording here on Zencastr. 100%. So there's a lot of content for you no matter where you consume it, dear listeners. So be on the lookout for that. We got a busy summer ahead of us, and there's going to be a lot of content to talk about. With that being said, I already talked about Patreon. If you want to support us over there, patreon.com/thereforumgamers. Support as low as $1 a month helps us get to keep the lights on, continue doing what we do here at the show, getting platinum trophies, buying games like My Name is Mayo 3. That's probably a de-incentivizer to support us on Patreon. But if you want to interact with us, get more content, you can do that on the website, YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, all those places. Links to everything will be in your show notes. And then, if you want to follow us on Twitter as well, I'll start including those as well. So you can follow us. If you want to see what building Gundams is like, you can follow me. If you want some new stuff and see some cool gametography shots, you can follow Micah over here. But with that being said, thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. And until next time, be a deer, keep it locked here, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, or watching it if you watched it over on YouTube. One of the perks that you get for supporting us over on patreon.com, at least at the $15 and above tier, is getting your name read at the end of every episode, kind of like having your name in the credits of a TV show or movie. And I want to shout those people out at the end of this episode here, and those people are Mr. Butts and Wesley Ray. Hey, if you like this episode, consider sharing it with someone that you think would be interested in the topic or the intersection of video games and theology, and maybe even share it with someone at Chick-fil-A. I don't know, you do you. But if you like what we're doing here at TRG, why not hop on over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers and consider lending your support. You get things like early uncut access to all of our episodes, you get behind the scenes episodes, extra episodes, and more of TRG. So head on over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers to consider lending your support. Or at the very least, if you can't support us financially, at the very least, highly would encourage you to share this episode with some friends, family, or whoever you come across that would be interested in this topic, this kind of show. With that being said, thank you again for listening or watching, and I will see you in the next episode.